Please, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to call my client, Ms. Valdez, to the stand.
Valdez, if you'll come around, please, and I need you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath. Come around here.
Right here, Your Honor.
Judge, if I may, we're going to waive opening. The only other thing, I've got a motion for exclusive possession of the marital residence. That's on the docket for today as well.
That's fine.
We'll leave that in there.
Ms. Valdez, you can move that base of that microphone towards you if you need to scoot back a little bit, whatever makes you comfortable. All right, thank you. Please, you may ask.
Good morning, Ms. Valdez. Could you please state your full name for the court
Leah Marie Valdez.
and your husband's full name for the court?
Vincent Russell Valdez.
Ms. Valdez, how many minor children do you have together?
We have 3.
And when did you leave the marital residence?
I left the marital residence, I want to say it was August 5th. I know it's in writing. I'm just cloudy on when that exact date is.
Thank you. Can you tell the court why you left the marital residence?
I left the marital residence for my own safety. I was having a discussion with Vincent about how unhappy in the marriage I was. I did not use the word separation or divorce, but I was letting him know just how unhappy I was. And he told me that if I was not going to fight for our marriage, that I had 1 hour to pack and leave. At that point, he left the residence to go pick up pizza for the kids. And he said, and I quote, "You better be gone by the time I get back." I was fearful in my own home. And so for the safety of myself, I packed a bag and I left. I was not too sure when I was going to come back. And so I left that night and came back Sunday and served him with divorce papers.
And where are you residing currently?
I rented a home in Kingston Springs at 318 Maple Street.
Can you tell the court a little bit about what the parenting arrangement has looked like since you left the marital residence?
There have been no hard set days. We planned on that, but because of both of our schedules, it fluctuates and varies based off appointments, work, personal activities. So roughly right now, the kids are spending 3 days with me, 4 days with him, or 4 days with me, 3 days with him, depending on how the week varies.
Do you have the capability to do a shared parenting schedule as to 50-50?
Yes, we do. Subject to his work schedule when he travels, because he's a sales rep, and subject to my work schedule if a special event pops up with the businesses that I own.
Yes, ma'am. And since this arrangement, have you had any major issues between both of you regarding the children?
Not that I know of, no.
And Ms. Valdez, do you have any history of drug abuse whatsoever?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. And do you currently associate with anybody who is currently using drugs?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. And during your parenting time, have your minor children ever been harmed?
No, ma'am.
Bear with me 1 second, Your Honor. And Ms. Valdez, can you tell the court what your gross monthly income looks like?
It varies, but on average, I would say modestly, we're looking at $5,000 to $5,500.
And where does that income come from?
My first business I own is DeValley Commercial Cleaning Service, and that grosses about $2,000 a month. And then the second business that I co-own with my husband is Giggles and Glam Kids Salon. And the profits on that fluctuate month to month, but on average, about $3,500 a month.
Thank you. And what can you tell me about your husband's income?
He is on salary, and so he has a fixed monthly income. And up until 3 to 6 months ago, he was also acquiring bi-yearly, so twice a year bonuses. But I believe that his employer has removed those.
Thank you. And Ms. Valdez, do you think that it is in the best interest of your minor children to maximize their time with both parents?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And so are you asking the court to adopt the temporary parenting plan we have submitted that shows 50-50?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
All right, Your Honor, I have nothing further as far as the temporary parenting plan goes.
All right. You wish to, are there any other issues that you want to address, or do you want to wait and address any of those issues that Mr. Holly is raising? You also had, I believe, a motion for the extension of the injunction. You want to address that with her now?
Yes, Your Honor, that'd be great. Ms. Valdez, we filed a motion for a ex parte restraining order. To your knowledge, has that restraining order been served on your husband?
Yes, ma'am, it has.
And what did that restraining order tell him to do?
It told him to return the $10,000 that he, to me, unknowingly withdrew from our business account. And I believe that was it, correct?
Has he put the full amount of the funds as ordered by the court back into that account?
No, ma'am. He has returned half, 5,000, but he has yet to return the other 5,000.
And have there been any consequences of him not returning the other 5,000?
Yes, I was not able to pay my employees or my payroll taxes until I was able to secure a $5,000 loan from a family member.
Thank you. And has your husband, you stated earlier your husband was a co-owner of Giggles and Clams with you. What has his extent been in business involvement?
He has come 3 times to the store to bring me iced coffee. He is not involved. He does not know how to run payroll, schedule, order product. He doesn't even know the code to the back door to get into the store. I run that business solely.
So when is it status quo for him to make a $10,000 withdrawal from that business account?
Absolutely not. He makes 1 withdrawal a month prior to our separation, and that was at my discretion after I run our profit and loss statement by the 5th of every month for the prior month. And I would tell him via text, this is the amount of money you are approved to withdraw from this business account. This is our profit from the prior month.
And do you have any history of not paying your employees?
No, ma'am, and every single one of my employees can attest to that.
Do you have any history of misappropriating any business funds?
No, ma'am. I will say last month, which we've discussed, there was a hotel room that I used my business credit card for because I did not have my personal credit card at the time. But my associate, Chris Draper, has paid $50 back into the business account for that, splitting the hotel room costs. And I'm more than willing to pay the other $50 in restitution.
Can you tell the court what approximately that amount was?
It was $105 to La Quinta Inn, I believe.
And are you capable of putting that money back
Yes,
into the
ma'am.
account?
I can do it today.
Are you willing to provide your husband with an accounting of business expenditures going forward?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay. And are you asking the court that this mandatory injunction and restraining order stay in effect so that you can properly operate your business?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Holly?
Sir. Ms. Valdez, you're talking about you left for your own safety from the marital residence. You're having an affair, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you admitted to having the affair to Mr. Valdez after it happened. You have to say yes or
Yes,
no
sir.
to the court reporter, okay? And, before that, this summer, you guys were husband and wife. You took a trip or two, day trip with the kids, did the husband and wife thing. Is that accurate?
Regular family things, yes, sir.
Yeah. When you left the house, you said that, he gave you an hour to get out and then you left for your own safety.
Yes, sir.
And you returned
Sunday,
the next day, right?
2 days later.
2 days later, and you stayed at the house for a week.
After I served him those divorce papers, I said, I'm willing to cohabitate with you while we function through the separation and divorce.
And it wasn't an issue of your safety at that point then, was it?
I left a week later because I did not feel safe anymore because of his volatile emotional state.
When you left that night, you said you left for your own safety. When you initially left, you said you had an hour, to get out and all that. Where'd you go that night?
I got a hotel room in Gallatin, Tennessee.
In Gallatin, and you stayed there with your boyfriend?
Yes, he met me there.
Yeah.
And that's when we consummated our relationship, was that night.
I'm sorry?
That's when we consummated our relationship, was that night.
Okay, so you had sexual relations with him that night
Yes, sir.
and that weekend and came back to Mr. Valdez on Sunday, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the name of the person you're having an affair with is whom?
Christopher Draper.
Christopher Draper. And how did you meet Mr. Draper?
I met him through Facebook Marketplace when I was selling a salon chair from Giggles and Glam.
Okay. And
That was July 17th.
you talked about, going to the motel room with Mr. Draper. How did you pay for that?
I paid for that with my own personal Kroger credit card.
Okay, and you didn't put that on the business card,
No, sir, I did not.
and you're sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he actually paid you back for half of it, correct?
The hotel that you're referring to, you're mistaken. It was for a later date, for La Quinta Inn, not the hotel that was from that Friday night.
I'm sorry, I got confused. So La Quinta Inn, then you stayed there with your boyfriend and you put that on the business credit card, correct?
Yes, because I left my personal credit card at home mistakenly.
And then your boyfriend paid you back for half of it, correct?
Half of it, yes.
But in your half of it, well, let me back up a minute. Giggles and Glam is a jointly owned business between you and Mr. Valdez, correct?
Yes, it is on paper.
Yeah, well, it is, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And he helped start the business. Y'all used some of the funds of the marriage to help get the business started, like most folks that start a business.
You are mistaken when it comes to he helped start the business. I vetted this business. They were a personal client of mine. I did all the legwork, paperwork, legal work, and red tape work to acquire this business. And he can attest to that through various Facebook posts that he has made about me a year ago.
Is there any marital funds that went into the business initially?
There was a small amount of savings that went into a down payment.
Right. So it's fair to say then, at least your half of the motel room that night was part of Mr. Valdez's, part of the business when you used that card, correct?
Yes,
And he paid for you to go have sex with your boyfriend and your affair.
amounting to around $52. Yes, sir.
So how long have you been seeing Mr. Draper?
I have been in communication with him since July 17th, and we consummated our relationship and made it official the night that I left my residence. And I believe that was August 5th, but I would have to clarify that.
Yeah. And Mr. Valdez is going to testify that out of 33 days, I believe it was when I added it up, I didn't add in this last week, and we'll get to it. But from like August the 12th, I believe is about when you left. Is that pretty close?
Left to go get a rental home, you're saying?
No,
Or
left
the
the
night he
marriage.
kicked me out?
Yeah, that night that you left. When was that?
I would have to check back through my text messages because I was texting some personal friends about what was going on and how unsafe I felt to confirm that date.
Okay, well, from August 12th to basically this September 18th date that we've got here, he's going to testify that 26 of those 33 days, the kids were with him. Is that accurate?
The kids were with him for a substantial amount of time in the beginning because I was setting up the home. I had to buy furniture. I did not want to traumatize the children by bringing them into a new home, separated from their father prematurely. But since I have set up a safe, clean, and capable home, the kids have been with me on a regular basis.
How long has that been? Sorry, I'm trying to connect something.
How long has it been since I moved in?
How long has it been since you've been in a safe and stable home?
Since I moved in, I believe August 18th is when I signed the lease and moved in.
Well, that doesn't track with what Mr. Valdez is going to say, and I'm asking you if this is accurate. He's going to testify from this August 12th to around the September 18th date, which is about 33 days, that the kids were with him 26 of those 33 days.
I believe that is grossly inaccurate. The kids were not with me initially after I moved out to go get my rental property at 318 Maple Street for probably the first 10 to 14 days because I needed to furnish it. I needed to get everything prepared so it was a comfortable environment for them. What he's also failing to disclose is that I came over to the residence every day to cook, clean, and prepare a home for him and the children to provide the children a sense of normalcy. That is what he's failing to disclose. And I would leave in the evening time to go back to my home.
Okay. How did the kids take the separation and you taking them off to your place?
The kids personally, once they arrived at my residence, were elated. We had toys that my mother had purchased for them there. There were new beds, new furniture, new clothes, food that they normally were not allowed to eat at my ex-husband's house. They were elated to be there. In fact, that night I have it on video, them dancing around to music about how excited they were.
I want to show you a video and ask you if you recognize this video coming from your doorbell.
It's gonna be okay. No, Daddy, I don't want to be like this. It's gonna be okay. No, Daddy, I don't want to be like this. No. I don't want to be like this. No, Daddy, I want me to the car. No, I don't want to be like this.
So is it fair to say that your son was taking that kind of rough?
Yes, I need to provide some context to that video.
Well, that's a yes or no question. It's fair to
Yes,
say
he
that,
was taking it very rough.
Your boyfriend, he works at your business now, correct? You've given him a job.
Yes, sir, he's a master barber at the salon.
He's a master barber at the salon. And has that caused any conflicts with your employees at all?
It had, not my affair with him, but him being employed there has caused issues with 2 employees that are no longer employed there. They had personal grievances to his personality. But before we go into that, I would like to shed some
Well, you
context onto that
understand
video.
Well, you have an opportunity to do that with your lawyer. Now, with your current employees, though, fair to say they've quit, you fired?
One was
because of the
terminated,
problems
one
with
quit.
Christopher Draper, correct?
Because their one was terminated not because of Christopher Draper, one quit because of their personal grievances with personality with Christopher Draper.
Was it personality, or was it the fact that you guys are, basically fooling around in the office and they don't like seeing that?
Absolutely not.
Have you ever fooled around at the office, in this business, your joint business? Have you ever fooled around at the office with Mr. Draper?
No, sir, I have not.
I'll show you, there's 2 videos here, and I want to ask you if you recognize this. No sound. Now, is this your back storage room at the office?
Yes, it is.
And that's Mr. Draper, I take it.
Yes, it is.
And he's here today, correct?
Yes, he is.
This says Sunday, but that's one of the days that y'all are open, one of your busy days, is it not?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I'm going to ask you if you recognize this video as well. That's your back storage room and you and Mr. Draper.
Yes, that's correct.
But you're out of sight of your employees, so they're not seeing any of this, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
This is the time technically he should be out there cutting hair, correct?
He was in between appointments, Your Honor.
No. Now, who is this coming in here to say you got a phone call?
That is Marissa Wallace. She's one of my receptionists.
Okay. So, I mean, your people do see that.
See me giving a hug. I would hardly call that fooling around.
So what we've displayed here today, you would not technically call fooling around.
The hug that my employee witnessed, I would not call fooling around. The kissing from the prior video, yes, I guess you could technically label that as fooling around.
Well, it's fair to say you recognize 2 of your employees here today, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. And if they testified they actually saw this and other things, would you deny that?
I know who was on shift that particular day, and Jessica was not on shift, and Kennedy was in the middle of an appointment. So I don't see how they could have witnessed anything in that video besides Marissa Wallace, who was the receptionist that came in.
You think your employees talk about everything that goes on there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they do.
Okay. So we've talked about you spending money for your boyfriend at the motel, the business funds for your boyfriend at the motel. Have you spent any other business funds with your boyfriend?
There was one purchase as a gag gift for our joint friend for his birthday, which Christopher Draper has paid back in full to me, to the business account. I use the business account because it is tied to an Amazon account, and that was for a gag gift, which is called a pocket pussy. But it was a gag gift. It was not for our quote-unquote illicit affair, and Christopher Draper has paid that back in full within 12 hours of the purchase.
Well, if I may ask, how many of these pocket peas have you given to your other employees as a gag gift?
It was, you misunderstand, you misheard. It was not to an employee. It was to a mutual friend for his birthday as a gag gift.
All right. What about, is there anything else? You see the banner up there. Did you buy him a banner?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so now we've got this. What did you buy with him for your business funds here from Fast Signs?
It is for the barber shop he is starting called Drip Fades.
Okay, and this is a picture of the banner that you got, correct?
Yes, sir.
Drip Fades, Love is King. This is still a child barbershop type thing, or is it?
No, well, he does service children, but this is an adult salon, an adult barber shop.
All right, and you're helping him get started with that?
Yes, I am.
And you're using your business funds of Mr. Valdez apparently to do that?
No, I believe I purchased this with my personal credit card.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Valdez show that. Do you believe or are you certain?
I believe.
So you're not certain?
Well, quite frankly, you have me second guessing myself based off the amount of evidence that you're bringing up on the screen.
Well, I understand that does have a tendency to make people second guess yourself. Why would that make you second guess yourself?
I think it's natural to be a little bit nervous when being attacked, and my personal information that I have no idea how Vince has come upon unless he's hacking my computer or my emails. Of course, it makes me a little bit nervous.
Okay to lie as long as you don't get caught? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying.
Have you referred business to Mr. Valdez? I mean, have you referred business to Mr. Draper, I'm sure?
If we could not take in clients, yes, I have referred them to what I call our associate barber, as he has referred business to me.
So as far as the making out and the business funds being spent on Mr. Draper, do you think that's good for the business that you and Mr. Valdez have?
I think as long as it does not damage the clients, the employees, or the revenue of the business, I think that it is irrelevant if I kiss my boyfriend in the back room.
Okay. Well, you understand you got two employees here that are no longer your employees, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they're going to testify it was a problem. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I do. I also have double the amount of employees that will attest that it's not a problem for Christopher Draper to be there.
Did you go on a trip with your boyfriend this last week?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where'd y'all go?
We went to Morgantown, North Carolina, as I was running a 18K.
How long did y'all stay there?
We were there about 48 hours.
Okay. How did you pay for that?
With my personal credit card
How are you going to pay that off?
from my own personal income.
From Giggles and Glam?
Giggles and Glam and Valley Cleaning Service, yes, sir.
All right. So in a roundabout way, Mr. Valdez is paying for your trip with your boyfriend.
In a roundabout way, I guess you could say that he is.
All right. So you've taken other trips with your boyfriend, quite a few, correct?
The only other trip I can think of was, no, we have not taken any long trips. We've driven within an hour of my residence to go hiking or to go camping. But I wouldn't call those trips necessarily.
You do that rather frequently. How many of those have you taken?
We went hiking for 3 hours. It was a day trip. We left at 10 a.m. We were back home by 3 or 4 p.m. That was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And then on a Thursday night, I believe, September 7th, we went on a 18-hour camping trip to a state park in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Okay. And all these times and others are going to be the times that, would you agree with me, Mr. Valdez is going to say that you asked him to keep the kids?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. So you'd rather be with your boyfriend then than be with your children?
The hiking trip was when the kids were in school and
But he kept them.
the
He kept them at night and did that kind of thing, correct?
So the hiking trip that we took, that was 4 or 5 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, the residence that I had rented was not prepared yet for the kids. So the kids, yes, were in his care. And then the 18-hour camping trip we went on was September 7th. That was a Thursday, and that was technically one of the nights that the kids were scheduled to be with Vince.
As you talked about, you're alleging it's been like a 4-3, 3-4 type relationship. Mr. Valdez is going to say differently. I've told you that.
Can you explain what you mean, a 3-4, what was that?
Well, I thought you were talking about, it was your testimony. I thought if I missed it, you're talking about 4 days with one, 3 days with the other. The next week it's 4 days with the one that got 3 days, and then kind of rotate that. That's what you were testifying to, correct?
Yeah, that's what we have had planned, but it
What
has
you had
fluctuated week to week. That's what I've said.
Fluctuated quite a bit, correct?
Yes, that's
Why
true.
not take these trips on the time that it's not your time with the children? I mean, why don't you arrange? a
Because
trip with
I
your
work
boyfriend even
evenings
at
with
least
the
around
Valley
that?
Cleaning Service, and Vincent has expressed interest that he wants the kids with him as much as possible because he does not think they're safe in my care. And I
If you're
work
leaving the
evening.
kids- If you're leaving the kids with him like that, do you think they're safe in your care?
Of course, they're safe in my care. Of
Your
course they are.
boyfriend's a convicted felon, correct?
Yes, he is a felon.
And I've looked at his record. I mean, there's thefts and drug charges and things like that, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And quite a checkered past of felonies and rehabs, correct?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Can you understand why Mr. Valdez would have concerns about the kids being around your boyfriend?
Naively, yes.
Have you given Mr. Valdez any other significant have you given Mr. Draper any other significant monies?
Personal funds, yes.
And how much and what for?
So with the commute back and forth with our relationship, he failed to qualify for a personal loan for a motorcycle. And so out of a personal credit card, I funded him roughly $3,500, which he's making monthly payments to me personally for that motorcycle, just so he doesn't have to spend money on gas quite as much to come see me and to travel to and from work.
Is he not living with you?
He does stay at my residence from time to time, yes, sir.
I've got Facebook posts where he called it home.
Yes, he sees it as home, very much so.
He's living with you.
Yes, he is living with me.
All right. So What kind of motorcycle did he get with your funds?
I believe it was a Kawasaki.
So I want to show you a couple of PayPals, ask you if you recognize this, where you sent yourself, Christopher Wilden, at this point. That he goes by a couple of different names, correct?
His legal name is Wilden, yes, sir. But he
Wilden.
goes by Christopher Draper.
All right. So, Mr. Wilden, you sent him $1,250 here, is that correct?
There were 3 or 4 different payments on PayPal for my own personal
I'm
money.
going to take them one by one. So this was $1,250 you sent to Mr. Wilden, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was on September 13th, is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And that was after you left.
Yes, sir.
And for the record, can you read what your note was?
It says, "I love you so fucking much."
And your testimony is that was for a motorcycle.
Yes, it was.
And here's where you sent $1,000 to your boyfriend, Mr. Wilden, the same day. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And what's your message there for him?
Vroom, vroom.
And that's for the motorcycle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And here's another $1,000 for the same day. And what did you put in the notation for it?
Round 2
And again, this was money you sent to Christopher Wilden.
for the motorcycle.
And then here's a Venmo where you paid $500 the day before, September 12th. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. That was the deposit for the motorcycle.
For the motorcycle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much was the motorcycle?
I believe it was $37.50.
Okay, you pretty well paid for the whole motorcycle, didn't you?
He's making monthly payments to me.
Is this
To pay
why
me
you
back.
need- Is this why you need that $10,000 to make sure you got plenty of money for your boyfriend and all of that?
No, sir.
That $5,000 that you got back from the business initially, is your testimony that none of that money would be traced to this?
None of that will be traced to this.
Where'd you come up with the $37.50 then?
This was a PayPal credit card that I qualified for about 5 weeks back, totaling, I believe it was $6,700.
Here's where you're paying him $20 for a referral.
He's paying me $20 for a referral. Any client that we could not take into Giggles, meaning we were too booked, instead of them going to Great Clips, Sports Clips, or something like that, I would refer them to Christopher Draper, and he would send me a referral reward from his own personal money as a thank you. He has also sent me a handful of clients as well.
Why did you not have time to give someone a haircut on August the 26th then?
Because
Or
we were
before
fully
that?
booked, sir.
He paid you $45, and this is noted as what?
Payback for the hotel. That's the hotel in question, the La Quinta Inn.
Half of it.
Roughly, yes. It was $89 plus tax.
And he paid you $20 here, and that was for,
The gag gift. And then he also, you'll see further down, if you have it on record, provided by Vincent Valdez, another $20 that he paid me.
and this was a gag gift, you said, for him?
Yes, to our friend Noel. He had just gotten dumped by his girlfriend and was lonely, and we thought it'd be hilarious to get him a sex toy.
How much was the toy?
$39.99 on Amazon plus tax.
You paid him $89.75, and that's for him working on a Sunday, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we already went over this one. So would you categorize this as a lot of money that you've given to Mr. Wilder?
Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, what is his criminal history?
It is varied. There is a lot of petty stuff on record for him in Indiana and Tennessee. He does have a felonious charge that he served time for what I believe was identity theft. He, at the time of his incarceration, was granted the privilege of going into drug court, which is very rare, where he got clean from his addiction. He has now been clean for 5 years and has been released from jail, I want to say 3 years now, 3.5 years he's been out.
What petty stuff then? Let me ask you that. What's the petty stuff on his record that you know of?
I mean, the last time I looked at it was 8 weeks ago when I ran a background check after we first met. I mean, it's everything from, goodness, forgive me, I don't know the right legal wordage for it. When you talk back to an officer, when you're not cooperating with them, speeding tickets. I believe there was also a past due license he was driving with. There's also petty theft, little things like that.
Well, I know you call them little things, but, you know.
They're not felonious, so let's clarify. There was one felony charge on him.
Okay. You call them little things. Mr. Valdez is very concerned about his children being around this character. You understand that part?
I do understand
And you've
that.
had your children around him, correct? He's met your children.
He has met my 2-year-old Sage after I take Sage to the therapy appointments that I have scheduled myself that my husband failed to do.
And that's the only one that he's been around?
Yes, sir, for no more than 5 minutes at a time.
You have plans to let him be around your children, though, correct?
In the future, yes, I do.
Do you drink?
I do, yes, sir.
All right. And you've had drinks with him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wilden being him.
Wilden, yes,
Wilden,
sir.
yes. And how many times have you drank with Mr. Wilden?
We drink in the evenings anytime we're together to relax and unwind like any adult would.
Okay. And you're talking about that's every evening y'all are together? That's what I'm hearing?
About 6 nights a week, yes, sir, we're together.
Okay. And how much do you drink every night?
Personally, for me, I probably have 2 Coronas or 2 glasses of Chardonnay.
How many does he have?
He probably has 2 or 3 Coronas.
All right. Well, I mean, you understand somebody that's been to rehab that's got a drug addiction shouldn't be enticing themselves with alcohol.
I believe that NA does follow those guidelines, yes, of complete 100% sobriety.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your answer to that?
I said I do believe that NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, does adhere to the philosophy that someone in recovery should adhere to 100% sobriety.
Should what?
Adhere to 100% sobriety.
Okay. And he's not been doing that if he's drinking alcohol, correct?
Factually, yes, that's true.
And again, you think that's okay to have around the children at some point?
I think that alcohol is okay to have around children. I fail to see the point you're trying to make. The philosophy that NA holds is one of a personal choice. It is not mandated.
I want to show you some Facebook posts here on the screen and ask you, first of all, do you recognize this as one of your Facebook posts?
Yes, sir.
And that's you and Mr. Wilden, correct?
Yes, sir.
What does lock and key mean?
It's our pet names for each other. I'm the lock, he's the key, meaning that we are soulmates.
So Mr. Draper puts on here, that's Mr. Wilden as well, correct?
Wilden, yes, sir.
Sorry. And you can steal $10,000, but you can't steal joy. He tags you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's talking about this $10,000, right?
Yes, because at the time of that post, I was distraught, thinking I would not be able to function my business past the next day.
This is you and he at the business?
Yes, sir, at the barber shop that he works at.
Who took that picture?
One of his clients, Bob.
Another photo of you and him on Facebook?
Yes, sir. We were cooking salmon together that evening.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm just going to object as to relevance because we've already established that she's seeing this individual, and we're getting off track from how this has anything to do with the business.
What's the
Well,
relevance, Mr. Hawley?
as for the motion to adopt the parenting plan concerning the children, I think every bit of this is relevant.
Overrule the objection because I'm allowing it solely for that purpose as to whether or not, how it affects the court's decision on a parenting plan. We're at a pause, so we're going to break for lunch. We'll recess for lunch until 1:30.
All right.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Mr. Hawley, you may continue your cross-examination.
Ms. Valdez, I'm going to show you a Facebook post and ask you if you're familiar with this post this morning.
Yes, sir, I am.
And what does that say?
It says, on our way to battle.
What are we battling today?
It is
Ms. Valdez?
It is a metaphor, Mr. Hawley. A metaphor is a use of symbolism.
Well, when you use a metaphor, you're kind of implying some things. What are you implying here?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. She's not implying anything. This isn't even her post.
Argumentative, Mr. Hawley. I
I'll move on.
understand she's on her way to court. Most people consider it to be battle, and I don't think that is in any way derogatorily intended. So.
Let me ask you this, Ms. Valdez. Is this your post?
Yes, sir, it is.
Do you remember when you made this post?
I did after I found out that Vincent Valdez took $10,000 out of my business account.
And you said what about that on your post? Can you read that?
Time to go to war. I was built for this.
Okay. And in your paragraph, your boyfriend said in a comment here, get your paint out, put your knife on, bring home the effing spoils, leave no survivors.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
He was talking to you in that situation, correct?
He was encouraging me after years of mental and emotional abuse to buck up and to be brave and strong and to not be amicable anymore in the divorce proceedings.
Okay. I'm going to show you a video and ask you if you recognize this video as a video of you at the house with a police escort. This is your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after you made this post, correct?
Yes, sir, it is. I actually called the police escort there for my own safety, hence the knife.
And you've got a knife on your belt, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct, for personal safety.
Was
The
it
police
because your
officers were there
boyfriend-
for me.
Was it because your boyfriend told you to?
And no, sir, that is a personal knife that actually my husband bought me.
You had the police there as well, correct?
For my own personal safety, yes, sir.
Yeah, and you still felt like you had to wear a knife?
That was for my own personal safety. Yes, sir.
And you talked about, you need this money for your business funds, to be able to pay employees, things of that nature. You did a photo shoot.
Yes, sir, I did.
And where did you do a photo shoot at?
At Studio 110 by Holly Douglas in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Okay, and when did you do that?
Where?
When?
I did that, I want to say it was the first week of September, last week of August. I would have to look back at the dates.
It was after you separated, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Sure. How much did that photo shoot cost you?
$2,800.
Just a minute, Judge. And I'm sorry, you said that was $3,500?
$2,800.
$2,800. Where did you get the money to do that with?
Personal loan.
Were there any photographs of you nude?
Yes, sir, there were.
Your Honor, I'm going to object again. I don't see the relevance between a photo shoot in parenting her children or a photo shoot in Giggles and Glam.
I could have another question or two. I'll be glad to link that up, but this was actually on the
We're going to
internet.
reserve ruling on it until Mr. Holly is able to show some relevance.
And was this on the internet?
The nude photos were not, but the ones where I was in teddies and other undergarments were.
But you did have the nude photos on the internet with a blackout, correct?
Yes, blocking out the exposed area.
Okay. And that was on the internet, correct?
It was on a TikTok, yes, sir.
Are you concerned about your children seeing that at some point?
No, sir, I'm not, because they do not have a TikTok unless their father shows them that video.
Are you concerned about any day them seeing that about their mother on the internet?
No, sir, quite frankly, I'm not, because no nude area is exposed.
Do you use drugs?
No, sir, I do not.
Could you pass a drug test today? You know, we've kind of requested one in the parenting plan and in the motion. Could you pass a drug test today?
What kind of drug test are we talking about?
Well, let's talk about a hair follicle 10-panel drug test that may go back 6 months.
No, sir, I would not pass that.
Why would you fail that then?
Because in the past, I have used shrooms.
Shrooms.
Yes, sir,
What are
mushrooms.
shrooms?
It's hard to explain, but you ingest them and they make you feel euphoric for a few hours.
Okay, and you're referring to mushrooms, correct?
Yes, sir.
They are illegal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and when's the last time you've done mushrooms?
About 3 weeks back.
3 weeks. It would have been after the separation as well.
Yes, sir.
Who did you do mushrooms with?
I did mushrooms with Christopher Draper in the privacy of my home when my kids were not present.
Okay, and he did them with you?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. Did you have any issues with someone that's going through rehab having a relapse by using mushrooms?
Well, that was not his drug of choice when he was in rehab, so I would not call that a relapse into methamphetamines.
So methamphetamines was his drug of choice?
Yes, sir, at the time it was.
Okay. And being addicted to methamphetamines and going through rehab and drug court and battling countless felonies, it's still not considered by you to be a relapse if you're doing mushrooms and drinking alcohol every night.
I did not say that I was doing drugs every night. Yes, I have a Corona every night after running my 2 businesses and I get home.
And again, where were the kids when you were doing mushrooms? Were they with their dad?
They were with, yes, their father.
Okay. And you feel comfortable with the kids being with father while you're conducting this type of activity?
Is that a trick question? Of course, I feel comfortable with them being with their father.
Do you have any issues with Mr. Valdez having exclusive possession of the marital residence since you moved out?
No, I offered that to him in the original MDA.
So that's really unopposed today. He can have the marital residence.
I've always felt that way, yes, sir.
Okay. May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Right.
That's all I have, Jim.
You're right.
Ms. Valdez, a few things that I would like to clarify with you. You testified earlier to Mr. Hawley about how you left the marital residence, and then you testified about how you carry a knife with you when you went back to the marital residence. Can you tell the court a little bit about why you felt so unsafe returning to the marital home?
Yes, ma'am. So to put in some context that Mr. Hawley shared earlier prior to our recess, when I served Vincent with the divorce papers the Sunday following him kicking me out, I agreed to cohabitate with him while the divorce proceedings were happening, and I lived upstairs in the office. That lasted about a week until I had to leave due to me feeling unsafe. And there was an incident that occurred, I believe it was August 17th, somewhere right around there, where I was still visiting the residents throughout the day, cooking, cleaning, trying to provide a sense of normalcy for the children so we would not traumatize them while Vince and I were in transition. And while I was hanging up some of his shirts in the bathroom, as my daughter laid on the bed not 10 yards away, I felt Vince come up to my side from behind me, and I turned around. He was very close to me. He put his hands on my waist, proceeded to slowly, but regardless, push me up against the wall. I felt like he was trying to kiss me. His hands began to move a little bit lower down my waist. Eventually, they probably would have touched my buttocks. I told him no to stop 3 times, and when he wouldn't, I put my hands on his chest and pushed him off. I then left the residence, went to the backyard because I was so upset, called Christopher Draper, asked him what to do, and he said I needed to leave the residence immediately, even if it was without the kids, for my own safety, and to never go back in there unless I was accompanied with my mother or with a police officer.
Thank you for sharing that. And just to be clear, was your minor child present and
Yes.
witnessed your husband do that?
Yes.
All right. Counsel also showed you a video of your child crying. There were cars in the video and your child was crying. Can you give the court some context about why your child was crying like that?
Yes, the reason why River, my son, was saying, I don't want this, Daddy, I don't want this. That particular day, Vince and I had planned for the kids to stay with me for the first time at my new rental. I had gotten it furnished and prepared for them, and that was the agreed upon day for them to spend the first night with me. We agreed that I was going to show up at a certain time and sit the kids down. My original hope was we were going to tell the kids to transition them slowly. Hey, mommy got a second house. It's just because it's closer to your new school. We're going to be doing some, and I quote, campouts at mommy's house. My goal was to provide them with a slow transition to not traumatize them, since they did not need to know that the divorce was happening quite yet. Vince proceeded in that moment to, for lack of better words, rip the Band-Aid off and say things along the lines of, Mommy has decided that she doesn't want to be married to Daddy anymore. Mommy has decided that she's leaving this family, that she's moving out. Daddy doesn't want this, and Mommy wants a divorce. And she doesn't want to be husband and wife anymore. To which in that moment, my son broke down distraught because it came out of left field and his mind did not know how to process what my husband was saying.
Thank you. And has your son had any more outbursts or crying fits since then?
No, ma'am. He cried for about 5 minutes in the car, but by the time we got to my mother's house, which was 13 minutes away, he was happy. By the time we got to my rental, he was dancing to music. He was playing with the new toys I had bought him. He was saying things along the lines of, I love this house.
To the hearsay.
I have video of the dancing and the music.
Ma'am, when there's an objection, you must stop talking
I
until I
apologize.
rule on the objection. Sustained, I don't think that is relevant. And it is a statement of the child, so it's introduced for the proof of the matter. Sustain the objection.
Ms. Valdez, how long have you gone without seeing the children?
At one given time or
Yes.
total? I would say it was actually here pretty recently. I had a marathon this past weekend. And so I've gone since Thursday morning without seeing them, and I get to see them tomorrow. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 full days, 4.5 days.
And do you visit them when your husband has them in his possession?
I no longer go over to the house, no, for my own personal safety. In the past, I would go over there, like I said, to cook and clean and help with the house and help him transition, but I no longer do that.
And you testified earlier that Mr. Draper will spend the night at your residence sometimes, but that he has never been in the presence of the minor children for more than 5 minutes. Can you explain to the court how that works?
Yes, so to clarify that 5 minutes, that's with my 2-year-old son, Sage. On Wednesdays, I take Sage to 2 therapy appointments, and afterwards I drop off lunch to Christopher Draper at his barbershop, in which my son, Sage, is present for that. But Christopher is working, so we never stay long. Secondly, Christopher comes over after hours at around 9 o'clock. The kids are already in bed. We have dinner on the front porch, and then we go to bed. He leaves for work between 4 and 4:30 a.m. before any of the kids even wake up.
Mr. Hawley also showed us a lot of statements on the screen, miscellaneous charges. How much have you spent erroneously through the business account to Mr. Draper?
Through the business account, I would estimate between 50 and 200 tops.
So very minimal in
Very
terms
minimal.
of what kind of profit the business is generating.
The cash flow on average every month from Giggles, revenue and everything is between $35,000 and $45,000 every month.
You said $35,000 every month?
Minimum, if not up to $45,000. That's the cash flow going through the business. Yes, ma'am.
And the credit card account that Mr. Hawley put up on the screen earlier, was that your credit card account?
Are we referring to the PayPal?
Yes.
Yes, that is my own personal credit card that I took out after Vince and I separated.
Is your husband associated with that account in any way?
No, ma'am, he's not.
We also saw a video from Mr. Hawley with you and Mr. Draper hugging and kissing in the laundry room. Did you lose any business over that interaction?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay. Did you lose any employees over that interaction?
No, ma'am, I did not.
And the two employees that counsel brought up earlier, the two that were here in the courtroom, did they both quit?
Kennedy, the young lady with the black hair, quit abruptly. She did not show up for her shift. She never gave me a reasoning. I contacted her with no response. The only thing I can surmise is personal grievances towards me or the business, albeit a week prior, she had just gotten a $150 bonus from me for such a good performance. I had just taken her out for a steak dinner. I thought everything was fine. Jessica, the African-American woman, was my general manager. I fired her for misconduct. She also was having a history of poor reviews on top of it for her work ethic. I found out that she was distributing pictures of my boudoir photo shoot to staff members. So because of those unethical reasons, I fired her.
And did you use any funds from the business for that boudoir shoot?
No, ma'am. It was all on either the down payment was on the Kroger personal credit card, and then the rest was on the PayPal credit card.
And you just testified earlier that you used mushrooms. Do you have any plans on that being a recreational thing for you?
No, ma'am, I do not.
And were your children in your presence when
No,
that
ma'am,
occurred?
they were not.
And does Mr. Draper have any connection to your business-related expenditures?
No, he has absolutely no access to anything.
That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Hawley?
To be clear, I thought I heard this. So, Mr. Wilden, he's sleeping at your house every night when the kids are there. They just don't, according to you, I guess, meet in the hallway?
They are in bed. I have their monitor on. We have dinner on the front porch, and then we go upstairs and spend our time up there with the door locked.
You said that in the process of this fear that you had with Mr. Valdez at one point, you called Mr. Draper and he kind of told you what to, or Mr. Wilden, and he kind of told you what to do. Wilden kind of told you what to do, correct?
Yes, he said I need to leave the residence for my own safety.
Okay, so you rely on him and you kind of are doing what he told you in that situation.
I sought him for counsel, yes.
Okay. Are y'all drinking every night and then going to bed with the kids there?
We drink about 5 nights a week, but I think there's a difference between getting intoxicated and having a beer in the evening. And we are not getting intoxicated every evening.
Again, back to my question, it would be, the answer is yes, that you are drinking every night while the kids are there with Mr. Wilden.
Yes, we are having a beer when my kids are present.
Why are you hiding Mr. Wilden in from your kids?
Because I do not think it appropriate to introduce them to another man in my life until the divorce is final.
But as long as they don't meet in the hallway,
I guess that's a risk, yes.
nothing further.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor. I'd like to call Christopher Williams.
I have a few questions before you do that. Let me describe for me what the situation was before your separation regarding the children, when you and Mr. Valdez were living together. Tell me how that went.
Sorry, Your Honor, you mean the child care situation, what it looked like? I was the main child care provider. Even though I own these two businesses, I was more or less a stay-at-home mother. I took care of all the dental appointments, ballet appointments, soccer, therapy, grocery shopping. I even homeschooled them from preschool up until 6 weeks ago. After I separated with my husband, I knew I would not be able to facilitate homeschooling in an honorable way, and so I enrolled them in a local elementary school. But I was the main caretaker and provider since birth.
And if your lawyer asked you if you plan to use the shrooms, mushrooms as a recreational thing in the future, if you weren't planning to do that for the future, why do it at all?
It was an opportunistic experimental situation where they were gifted to us, and quite frankly, we were curious.
Anything further?
You understand that in mushrooms, that's what somebody told you when they gave them to you, but there could be anything in there.
Yes, sir, you're right.
I mean, people put different stuff in different drugs nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right.
I've got clients and friends that aren't here on planet Earth right now because they took something experimental and it didn't turn out so well.
Yes, sir, you're correct.
And that could have happened to you. It could have happened to you and the children's mother, correct?
Me and the children's mother?
That's you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Mr. Wilden was there with you. You've already said that. Was there anybody else?
It's Wilden, and no, it was just him and I.
And who got the mushrooms?
I'm not at liberty to say that. I am not too sure. I just know it was gifted.
Who brought them into the home? Who brought them into your home?
It was Christopher and I.
Well, did somebody give them to Mr. Wilden and bring them in, or give them to you and bring them in?
I assume someone gave them to Christopher.
Okay. And again, this is all appropriate as long as we don't meet in the hallway. The kids and Mr. Wilden.
I don't understand how that has relevancy here when we experimented with the shrooms while my kids were 18 miles away. So I don't understand how the hallway has context here.
If he brought drugs home and if he brought drugs and brought them into your home, and he talked you into using them, what's to stop him from using them at any time?
He did not talk me into using them. I agreed.
What's to stop him from using them any time? Address my question.
I understand that. What's to stop my husband from picking up drug use at any time?
Well, he doesn't.
It's all
apparently
speculation.
he doesn't apparently have a history of it. We're not talking about his drug use, are we?
No, we're not.
I mean, he doesn't have a history of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
That's true.
That's you, correct?
I do not have a history of drug use. I've experimented one time.
And you wouldn't call that a history of drug use?
I think that's a very loose way to use the word history.
Is it fair to say that with the drugs, the photo shoot, the different things you've got going on with the affair, that you're kind of got a midlife crisis going on here?
I can see how someone might think that on the outside, but I also think you have to look at the hard facts. I'm still running two profitable businesses. I still have a team of staff members who worship me, who are willing to testify to my character. And I also have a community of people that are also willing to testify to my character. I pay my bills on time. I'm never late. I run my businesses flawlessly, and I treat my kids with kindness and respect and provide for them.
I understand that's what you're saying, but while you're doing that, according to you, and you're doing all the other things that you're doing, what's wrong with leaving the kids in what I understand to be basically the main home that they know with their father at this time, while you go do whatever you want to do?
There is a difference between leaving them in a physical residence and saying that's going to comfort them compared to letting them spend time with the woman who has basically solely reared them for the last 8.5 years, educated, clothed them, spent time with them, provided for them.
And again,
Mr.
ma'am,
Valdez was
I know
never
that
their main
you-
rearer.
I know that you say that, but You yourself have admitted 26 out of 33 days.
I did not admit to that. That is inaccurate.
Well, you've admitted there's a lot of times that you're taking trips and things like that.
I did not admit to that. That's purely speculation. I said we've taken 2 trips, if you don't remember, Mr. Hawley. One was a camping trip that lasted 18 hours, and it was 48 minutes away. I clocked it while I was out at recess. The other one was a day trip, hiking trip, and we were gone for maybe 7 hours, and that one was an hour and a half away. So I failed to see these grandiose trips that you're referring to.
Since you've been separated from Mr. Valdez, though, you've not even come close to 50-50, have you?
I would say it's been about a 60-40, 65-35. But that's also because I work nights and I work 3 jobs right now to provide for my kids while he works from home. He has the luxury of being with them more often.
Well, that I understand. Thank you. Nothing further.
Please, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may call your next witness.
I'd like to call Christopher Walden. Stand, Your Honor.
Christopher Walden. Wilding, is that how it's actually pronounced? Wilding or Walden?
Wilden. Wilden.
Wilding, you come up here, please. Ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to have the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Mr. Wilden, could you please state your full name for the court?
Christopher Ryan Wilden.
Mr. Wilden, what can you tell the court about your criminal history?
It started when I was about 19 years old, and it ended about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. Petty thefts, possession of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, controlled substance. So it's all drug related.
And how long have you been sober for now?
5 years.
From which substances?
The only thing I do is drink alcohol. So, I mean, you're talking opiates, methamphetamines, Adderall. I haven't taken anything besides ibuprofen.
And what kind of program did you go through once you were released from prison?
So part of my agreement when I came out of jail, because this last time I finally decided to change, I went through Indiana and cleared up all my charges up there, cleared my charges down here. And on my last charge, I was going to be sentenced to do 3 years. I'd never asked for drug court or any type of rehabilitation, never been in any or anything. And, my real goal was to get back to my daughter. So I went through a drug court program, Sumner County Drug Court. It's one of the top in the nation. There's other drug courts that fly them out to teach them how to run a drug court. And, I don't know the exact numbers, but they're over triple the national standard of success rate. So what happened was I got out, when I first got out, I had 3 drug tests a week. I had 5 meetings I had to hit a week. I had a therapist, 2 pastures, and it was class after class after class after, family classes. It was MRT classes. It was, I did it all. Journey to Freedom class.
So in your opinion, have you turned your life around?
Absolutely.
And do you have any minor children of your own? You said?
Yeah, my daughter's not.
And Mr. Walden, what has been the extent of your interaction with Miss Valdez's minor children?
None. She's had Sage taking therapy, and she stopped by my work, and he was with her, but that was it. There's no interaction.
And when you stated that you drink alcohol, how frequent is that?
3 nights a week, 2 nights a week, a couple of Coronas here and there.
And Do you do that in the presence of the 3 minor children that I
No,
just referred
no.
to? Okay. And what do you do for a living now?
So I'm a barber. I do a lot of stuff. I'm a barber. I'm actually getting ready to start a nonprofit organization to help guys that are in long-term recovery, either get certificates or get careers or to like if they want to start their own business and they need lawnmowers. I'm in the middle of learning how to grant write, so I can actually. That's the progression of it. Like I cut hair for a living, but more realistically, I want to be able to give back to the community and things where I've been.
So is your business doing well?
Yeah,
Are you generating a profit?
absolutely. I've been in business about a year right now, professionally. Like I've had my license since July of last year. I have almost 100 5-star reviews. I got 1 4-star review, and I've got over 600 clients that I take care of a month.
And do you do any local volunteer work?
Yeah. I work with Nashville Cares. We do, they hand out they do a needle exchange. So they bring in dirty needles, you give them clean needle. It's a HIV and HEP prevention is what they do, along with testing. I got test kits coming to the shop to where I hand out test kits to people that may need it. That's different rehabs, halfway houses, people I know. I mean, because I'm really close in contact with the jail and with the recovery court, with Sumner County Drug Coalition. So I'm in ties with all of them, and I'm able to provide services that not everybody, because I'm a barber, I know everybody. And middle of next month, I got granted to go into the jail and start cutting hair every other week for the indigent guys, the guys that have no money on their commissary. And that's going to be on a podcast. They're going to allow me to podcast it. So, I'm not even allowed back into the jail that I came out of.
So do any of your past criminal history, does any of that have to do with children or hurting children? Okay.
No. None of it's even violent.
What was that?
None of it's even violent. No domestics, no batteries, no nothing like that.
And Mr. Wilden, recently, have you done mushrooms with my client?
Judge, I want to object. That's asked and answered. He already testified all he's taken is an ibuprofen.
I'm asking him directly.
Overruled.
Yes, I have.
And can you tell the court what the occasion was or why you decided to do that?
It's basically, it's a spiritual opening to deal with some of the stuff that internally has just kind of squandered me or been shameful to me.
After you did that, did you relapse?
No.
And do you have any intention on doing it again?
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
When you did it, were the minor children present?
No.
To what extent has my client, Ms. Valdez, used any business expenses on you?
On me, I don't think any. I think the only thing that she ever used it on was a hotel when he kicked her out of the house.
Did you reimburse her for that?
Anything that we've ever done together, I give her money for, reimburse her, yes.
Did
The
she?
hotel, I don't think I paid for anything on the hotel because that was something that she had to have a place to stay anyways. And so,
Did my client help you purchase a motorcycle?
yeah.
Okay, and to your knowledge, was that used from the business account, those expenses?
No.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Holly, you may cross-examine.
Mr. Wilden, I thought I heard you say earlier that you didn't take drugs, all you took was an ibuprofen. Was that your testimony earlier?
As far as relapsing on drugs that I've previously been addicted to, yes, I don't use.
What were you previously addicted to?
Methamphetamines, Adderall, opiates.
Well, it's not mushrooms now, is it?
No, it's not a daily thing. It's not a weekly thing. It's not I don't wake up in the morning taking mushrooms, but there are places where it is legal to wake up daily and take mushrooms.
Where's that at?
Colorado.
Okay.
I just
And I
got
don't-
back from Colorado, and it is legal there, so.
You planning on moving to Colorado?
No, sir.
Let me clarify. It is legal for some people there in Colorado, not for me.
That's. All right, so you brought mushrooms. Did you get the mushrooms?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how did you get them? Did you buy them or?
Yeah.
Okay, so they weren't gifted, you bought them.
No.
How much did you pay for them?
$60.
Did Mrs. Valdez chip in on it?
No.
Did she pay for any of it?
No.
So she bought you a banner, correct, for your business?
Yeah.
So she did use a business expense for you, correct?
Wasn't aware that that was from the. Now, mind you, everything that comes from profitable from drip fade is going to be split with Miss Valdez and has been up to this point.
I'm sorry?
Anything profitable from that is going to go 50-50 to her. That
So
comes
y'all
from that.
starting your own little business?
As far as the products, yes.
Yeah. She trying to close down Giggles and Glam to make that not worth anything from the marriage and get you started in your own hair cutting business?
I think that's the other side doing that, not Miss Valdez.
You cut kids' hair?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a vape when you cut kids' hair?
Yeah, my vape sits out.
Yeah.
And it's actually normally in a basket, but yes, it has sat out on the counter when I come back in. But normally I have a basket that I bring with me that I keep all my personal belongings in, and it's underneath.
And you're not opposed to doing drugs again, from what I'm hearing. Is that what I heard you testify to?
I said I wouldn't be opposed to doing shrooms again.
It enchambers, something that enchambers you? That's what I thought I heard you say?
No, I said what it does is it allows me to deal with some of the things that I've done with that happened to me in my past. It's more of a spiritual thing rather than just I'm trying to get messed up.
So you're on some sort of spiritual quest to do mushrooms to help out your psychological issues? Is that what I'm hearing?
No.
What am I hearing then?
We all have childhood trauma and things we dealt with when we were younger that don't get brought up in our general day-to-day. And then able to process that, sometimes you experience things in life. What's a spiritual awakening through AA and NA?
Well, you're using drugs to get awakened, I guess is what you're saying.
No, sir.
And you spend just about every night with Miss Valdez at her place?
Yeah, most nights.
You call that your home?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That
It
where
is
you
home.
live?
I walked in, it felt exactly like home.
Is that where you live?
No, I have an address at 2525 Leeville Pike.
Do you pay any of the bills with Miss Valdez?
Nope, I discussed it.
Do y'all just have a deal where you bring in shrooms and drugs and things like that, and then you get a motorcycle?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, as being argumentative.
But Judge, that's a fair question. If he's bringing in shrooms to Miss Valdez, you know, is it one of these deals where you're bringing in shrooms to Miss Valdez and she's buying you a motorcycle or giving you a loan for a motorcycle?
And when Miss Valdez left her house and wasn't allowed to take anything from her own house.
Mr. Wilder, I'm asking a specific question.
sir. No,
Did
sir.
you swap the shrooms for anything with the motorcycle?
No, sir. No, sir.
Is there a domestic abuse on your record?
No.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
You ever been arrested for domestic assault?
Mm-mm.
You ever been arrested or charged with any assaults?
Mm-mm. No.
Are you on probation in any way right now?
No, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
No, sir.
So what would you think that they would say at drug court if they knew you were taking shrooms right now?
They'd probably recommend me to get some classes or do something like that. They'd ask they'd probably ask me what was going on with me and why I was doing it first. And then I would explain it to them. And some people don't understand and don't agree with it. And some people do, and I don't abuse it. I'm not waking up every morning craving shrooms. You can't abuse it.
I'm sorry, you can't abuse drugs?
You can, but it doesn't do anything. If you microdose, it's actually proven to change the way your brain fires and can
You said you had 2 to 3 drinks a night, correct?
2 to 3 drinks every few nights.
2 to 3 drinks every 2 to 3 nights?
Say 3 or 4 nights a week. Yeah.
Okay, so it's 2 or 3 drinks, 3 to 4 nights a week now?
That's what I said originally.
Okay. If Ms. Valdez says more like 5 or 6, then would that be accurate?
Somewhere in there.
Y'all have a drink every night?
What's that?
Y'all drink every night?
No, sir.
You drink when the kids are there, correct?
Because the kids are in bed, if they're there. I don't see the kids, but yes.
You're sleeping in the same, what, apartment? Or is it a house?
Yes, sir.
House or apartment?
House.
You're sleeping in the same house with these kids every night?
They're not there every night.
Well, every night that they're there, are you sleeping with them in the same house? Not with them, but sleeping with
Majority.
the same house?
Majority.
You ever encourage Mrs. Valdez to get a knife
Yeah.
as the victor and go take home
Be safe.
the
Yes.
effing spoils?
Yeah.
Did you ever post that?
Absolutely.
What'd you mean by that?
Be safe. To watch her back. Look what's happening.
You understand what your post said, to the victor comes the effing spoils. Time to get out your knife. That's pretty close.
Be prepared. Absolutely. You always be prepared.
Bring home the spoils. What spoils are you talking about?
Go out there for victory and win. Like
Win what?
Win life. Win it life. Don't be a victim.
The victim of what?
Anything. 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 Don't have a victim's mentality. Don't be a victim. Yes,
Are you aware that
absolutely.
she took a knife to the house of Mr. Valdez?
Yeah. I was also aware she was backed into a corner and touched on too.
Well, you're aware she took a knife, took your advice and did that.
She wears a knife to work on Mondays and Fridays too.
Why?
She's out at dark. Look at her. Look how big she is. If somebody's backed you in a corner, wouldn't you protect yourself or tell your daughter to protect herself or your wife? You wouldn't?
And just to be crystal clear, you're testifying you are a barber,
Yes, sir.
master barber,
Yes, sir.
and you cut kids' hair.
Yes, sir.
How many heads of hair do you cut a week over at Giggles and Glam?
Oh, only like 5 or 6. If that. From
Did they know-
from noon to 3.
Do they know about your history while you're cutting the kids' hair, the parents?
I'm not opposed to telling them.
You're taking shrooms and
I'm not opposed to telling them.
you're not opposed to
How do you
telling
think? How do you think everybody found out?
Do you think
about
that's
my
good for
history?
business?
Absolutely. Somebody's come back that had a 3% chance of coming back and did.
They did mushrooms last week.
Am I shooting dope behind a trash can? No, sir. Am I stealing? Am I lying? Am I cheating? No. No, I'm not afraid to tell anybody what I've went through and what I've went through and where I'm at.
Nothing further.
Anything else?
Just real quick, when you said that you were having a few drinks while you were at Ms. Valdez's home, are you ever so inebriated that you can't help if anything?
Object to the leading question.
How intoxicated do you get when you're at Ms.
So
Valdez's
rule on
home?
your objection sustained. Go ahead.
How intoxicated do you get when you're at Ms. Valdez's home?
I mean, it's 3 or 4 beers. It's not very intoxicated at all. I can coherently do anything I do generally. I could cut hair, I can talk, I can write, I can do math and calculus. I mean, like I don't get inebriated at all. It's not inebriation.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you.
Well, not very intoxicated, but you are intoxicated.
At my home,
Well, if you're
Well,
calling Miss Valdez's home your home, yes.
yeah, at home, yes. I'm not driving. I'm not putting kids in car. I'm not.
You're missing my
I'm not even
question.
interaction with kids.
You're not very intoxicated, but you are intoxicated, is what your testimony is today with the children in the home, Miss Valdez.
As intoxicated as 3 or 4 beers will get you.
Nothing further.
You testified a moment ago that you have been sober for 5 years, is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
So what is your definition of sobriety?
Everybody's recovery is a little bit different. For me, For me, alcohol was never a problem. Mushrooms was never a problem. Marijuana was never a problem. I don't smoke marijuana. My qualities as an addict are not bad qualities. It's just where are they focused? It's a perseverance and a drive to chase something and to go further and to be better. But at one point, that's not what it was. It was chasing that drug and that high all the time.
Right. Now, you testified about your extensive background in your criminal history, and obviously you've been through quite a few different situations, went to prison or jail for a period of time, I think.
Yes, sir.
Did you cause you any concern about introducing, you realize mushrooms, whether they're legal in another state or not, they're
Right.
patently illegal in the state of Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Did it cause you any concern or have any misgivings about introducing mushrooms into Miss Valdez or her home?
I think the biggest concern is that I don't want to get anybody in legal trouble, that myself included or her.
But
You know what I mean?
but you
Possessing
brought
them.
illegal substances into her home.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's my cause of concern. If I had any cause of concern about it, is that I was.
All right, thank you. You may step down.